Hi everyone, it's Grada here and I'm ready to do our You Are the Miracle FM tuning in session for the week. Okay, so I'm just going to see if I can sit somewhere where the light is a little bit better. Okay. Okay, I'll walk around while I talk. So, this is just a reminder that you are an energy being, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit so you know what it means for you. So, you are much more than your body, and you are much more than your story, and you are also much more than your past. A lot of us get hooked into our past, and many of us have been through a lot of trauma, and we have issues in our tissues, you could say, but our past does not define us. Okay, so but however, we often do feel affected by our past, and we feel that when we want to move forward, we literally want to move on, the brakes are on. So this morning we did lots of exercises to get the brakes off, because quite often those brakes are very, very sticky. And we did a lot of inner child work, actually full on 2.5 hours of inner child work. And a lot of our inner child issues, they pop up during our day and we're not conscious of it. You could say that our inner child often runs the show, especially during times when we feel stressed. And when we feel stressed and we're under the pump, that's of course the time that we need all our faculties on board, and that's quite often when when the opposite happens and we lose the plot and we turn into the person that we actually don't like. And because that's when our inner child suddenly comes to the fore, and we feel we're out of control. So I always explain to my students that we have to do our bucket work. If we don't do our bucket work, we literally come adrift and we don't have the life that we want. If we don't do our bucket work. Hi Lynn, how are you? We lead shitty lives when we can actually be having a fantastic life if we just remember every day to do our bucket work. So, for instance, I was saying this morning, I have a scrap bucket under my sink, and I put the scraps in that for the chooks. And imagine if I just kept putting the scraps in there day in, day out for years on end, my kitchen would be, pretty smelly and chock-block full of scraps, and that would be pretty unbearable. I mean, nobody would do that in his or her right mind, but that's how we treat our emotional life or our emotional being. We just shove things in different buckets and under the carpet, and then we expect that our life isn't going to be smelly or our thinking won't be stinking. But of course, in the end, it's always going to catch up on us. So what we do, when we feel angry, that's ugly often. We were taught that anger is ugly and we suppress it. And anger, when you think of anger, it's a powerful energy, like it wants to expand. It's like got an explosive quality to it. And God created us with anger, because anger needs to it lets us know that something isn't right and we need to do something about it. So I'm not saying that you need to go around punching the wall or punching your friends or be aggressive. I'm teaching people how to be intelligent with their anger. So anger, we can temporarily put it in our scrap bucket when we have to function during the day, but then we have to make an appointment with ourselves regularly, like at least once a week, and preferably every day for a while, to empty out our bucket, because we are trading anger for peace. So if you're a person, if you think, well, I'm not an angry person, just ask yourself, well, am I a peaceful person? Am I literally, the Dalai Lama, am I overflowing with peacefulness all the time? And just check in during the day how often you get triggered. Maybe you are a peaceful person, and maybe, you can go through life and nobody triggers you, and you're just the epitome of peacefulness. If that's you, then you most likely don't have an anger problem. However, most of us do have an anger problem, and we actually don't realize that we do. So in our bodies, anger often manifests as tummy aches. They're a classic hormonal upsets, headaches, migraines, exhaustion, when you diffuse your energy, so like when you look in the mirror and you're not looking very, very sparkly, that's because your body is using up so much energy to stop that explosion that wants to happen inside your body. And you're so used to it that you actually have forgotten what it feels like to be at peace and to feel normal inside your body. So I'm not going to do a demonstration right now how to deal with your anger. I'm simply going to tell you that as soon as it's safe for you, go to your bedroom and start punching a pillow really, really hard. And you do that at 50% strength for the first 30 seconds, just to get used, like a little warm-up. And use like this side of your arm and punch the pillow really, really hard. You can also make a huffing sound, because that energy needs to be released from your lungs. And after a little while, even if you're not angry to start with, that's not really the point. The point is that you empty your scrap bucket, okay? So you just take the lid off and start punching the couch or your bed. And after you've done that for, after a 30-second break, you start again. And this time you put in 75% effort. And then after 30 seconds, you stop, have a little spell for 30 seconds, and allow your chemistry to adjust. And then you really go for it. And this time you go all out, and you don't stop till you're exhausted. Okay? So once you do that, and then finally you sit back, and when you calm down and the dust settles, you probably feel so peaceful that you can't remember the last time that was the case. So that is dealing with your anger in an intelligent way. So there is also a dumb way to deal with your anger. Okay, a stupid way to deal with your anger, which is what most of us do, by the way, because nobody's had training, would be road rage, for instance. So somebody cuts you off, or somebody makes a finger sign, and suddenly you're boiling and you chase this car, or goodness knows what you do. And you feel angry, so that's like a trigger. So that's a sure sign you need to turn the key off and just pull over somewhere and bang the steering wheel, as long as you realize what you're doing, that I am feeling this anger and I am 100% responsible for emptying my anger bucket. Okay, so it's got nothing to do with that other person. It's just that your higher self or the universe gave you an opportunity to let you know that, hey, time to empty your scrap bucket. Okay, so that's our anger bucket. I put a lot of emphasis on the anger work because that's actually the one thing that creates the biggest change in your body and the fastest, and actually it's the easiest one to do once you get used to, once you get over your shyness and your embarrassment around it, or your guilt for punching the bed or whatever, or the stigma around it, once you break through that, I can absolutely guarantee that your life will be changed if you do your anger work, like at least once a week. Okay, so the point is, don't wait till you're angry. Set an appointment for yourself, let's say every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and you empty out your scrap bucket. So that will give you a lot of energy as well. You'll give you a good night's sleep, you'll feel at peace. People will start to feel comfortable around you. Okay, so what I wanted to remind you of as well, that we see the world through our eyes. So in other words, we see the world as we are, okay? We don't see the world as it is. We think we see the world as it is, but we don't. We see the world through the lenses of our childhood, of our conditioning, and if we have a lot of inner child issues, we literally see the world through a lens, a foggy lens of anger, or pain, or hurt, or sadness, or shame, or guilt. And so I wish for all of you to have like a brilliant life, and to have money flowing in, and to have intimacy in your relationships, and just that you can do what you came on earth, what God's plan for you was. So we have to get our issues out of the way. We have to move through them and clear our buckets. So we also have a sadness bucket. Most women are very good at sadness, because as a little child we were allowed to be sad, but we weren't really allowed to be angry or feel angry. A lot of men have trouble with expressing sadness or expressing fear, and so that's why men can be often, well, not often, but they can be abusive. They can have an anger problem. And by the way, if our buckets are full, we become addicted to painkillers, okay? Because our buckets are overflowing, so now we can't experience joy, love, and peace, which is causing us a lot of pain. So we often smoke cigarettes to dull the pain of the sadness, or do drugs, recreational drugs, or literally we need to take painkillers, and alcohol is often to suppress anger. But we all know that doesn't work very well, and it usually has the opposite effect. So that's enough talking. I was just explaining about our three main buckets. So when we're born, our buckets are normally, when we're born healthy and happy, our buckets are full of, like, one bucket for love, one for joy, and one for peace. And not very long into our lives, maybe already say by age 2 or 3, those buckets are usually overflowing with anger and sadness and a lot of fear. Okay, so all those feelings need to be expressed. Feelings can't be controlled, they simply need to be felt, they need to be welcomed in, and they need to be expressed. So, other than doing our bucket work, I also wanted to talk about essential oils, because they also have a place in helping us to be not just balanced human beings, but to live our lives full of energy. And essential oils help us to dissolve stresses and traumas. So today we worked with Inner Child that looks like this, and I thought, because I thought it was very applicable, we were doing a lot of inner child work, and we were like trying to smash through our resistances. When you use essential oils, it's not very dramatic, but quite often we do feel a definite change in our being. So when we inhale an oil, like I'll show you now, that goes to our limbic system, and in our limbic system we that's where we've stored the memories of our traumas. So the essential oil, they bypass our thinking brain, and so in other words, we don't have to talk about anything or process anything. The oils just get to work in our reptilian brain and help to clear some of the electrical charge that's still in our body from the traumas. So just as a little tuning in and tuning up for this week, I want to finish and you're the miracle for this week by showing you what you can do. So first of all, I'm putting some drops of essential oil on my hands, and this has two actions. I'm activating my hand chakras with the oil, so my energy is huge today. And I think that's because I've done some of my anger work, so some of that anger is moved out of the way, and now suddenly it's like an explosion of life force that's suddenly available. So I can highly recommend it. So my energy is so big, I literally have to measure it. I have to put my hands out like that. But anyway, for the sake of this exercise, I'll bring it in and inhale it. So that's like, it's gone into my limbic system already, but now I want all that energy that's coming out of my hands, I want to go into my cardiovascular system. So I'm not just talking about my emotional heart, I'm literally also talking about my physical heart, okay? So by showering my heart with energy and the goodness of the essential oil, I'm re-energizing my heart and giving my physical heart even a tune-up. Okay, so this goes into my heart and into my arteries and into my bloodstream, as well as into my emotional heart. So by the way, of course, our heart is a highly emotional center too. And this is one way to quickly bump up our joy and peace and love levels. And suddenly I don't feel like talking anymore. I just feel like sitting here now for another 10 minutes and just enjoying my own company and energy. And there's actually nothing wrong with that, of course. That's the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves. So is that we sit near the fountain of our own love, joy and peace. And that means we are not needy and we can give to others without having that needy element in our relationships. So anyway, the heart center transmutes any negativity or pain into love. So if we sit here long enough, we all turn into Buddhas using our own hands. Okay, so we can also change our thinking simply by putting our hands, and there is still energy. I'll measure my energy. So it's still big. So remember what I said last week about our energy. The more we give out energy, or the more we give it to ourselves as well, the more there is to share. So it's the opposite to the physical world. So in the physical world, if you have a piece of pie and you have your bit, that means there's less for other people. In the spiritual energy work, it's the exact opposite. If there's a piece of pie and you don't have your bit, there is less for other people. Okay, so in the spirit sense, in energy sense, please work with your energy so there's more to share for everybody else. Okay, so that's something you need to get your head around. So I'm getting that same feeling again that I want to be quiet. And of course, quietness is really good because that's when we find all the answers and changes our thinking. Okay, our life depends on the quality of the quality of the questions that we ask. So this helps us to have good questions, and then we energize our crown chakra. Our crown chakra is here, and that's our connection to God or the universe. Okay. If you have a lot on your mind, some people have a lot on their minds, or they literally feel the weight of the world is on their heads, as if they have like a whole stack of bricks on their crown chakra, and they're finding it hard to get through to God or to the universe or their higher self. You can simply energize this part with your hands. And of course, everything is way more enjoyable when you use a beautiful essential oil. Okay, so, and now I'm putting my hand on my womb space, because all that energy needs to be anchored in. Okay, so the womb space energy center, that's our center for receiving good things into our lives. Remember, it's also the center where we create our desires, and where our life force bubbles up, and it helps us to be grounded. As soon as we become grounded, remember, our lives start to turn around. So most of us are quite familiar with our brain, our head center, and also our heart. Of course, that's fully awakened, but most of us need a lot more attention and awareness in our womb space or in our pelvis. And if we want our lives to change, that's where we need to bring our awareness into. So you can close your eyes for a minute and imagine a little candle in there. Or you drop through your womb into the center of the earth and connect with a healing room in there, and allow all your stresses to drop in there and fill your body with fresh energy. So just take another big breath in. It's also really important, by the way, to think of the energy behind you. I forgot to mention that today in the class, but the energy behind us helps us to feel fully supported, and most women don't feel fully supported because that's just, again, from our experiences in our childhood. And even if we have a really supportive partner or a support network, we never feel supported because that something happened to us as a little child or that we experienced abuse. So when we focus on the back of ourselves, like the back of our energy, and when you meditate, it's actually really good to just visualize your light globe being fully alight at the back. And that helps you to feel supported, and also helps you to be attract success into your life. And it happens automatically. You don't need to do anything else. Okay? So that little exercise I just did by activating your main energy centers with your hands, and if you have some essential oils, use a bit of essential oil. That's literally lighting up your globe, the light globe that you are. So you can be the radiant being that you are and be a gift to the world. Be the gift to the world that you are, and you get to experience what that feels like. Okay, so that's it for this week. And I hope that you all have a fantastic week, and just keep emptying out your scrap buckets, and they will magically fill up with good stuff like peace, love and joy, and the qualities that you've been craving for all your life. They're already inside you, they're just buried. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.